All right, welcome. Today we're going to step into a virtual classroom. We're going to learn from the perspective of a master history teacher, someone with 25 years of experience in one of Lagos's best schools. We're going to pull back the curtain and learn how to really think like a historian. So let's start with the big one, right? How do we have any idea what actually happened hundreds or even thousands of years ago? I mean, it was long before any of us were born. Way before cameras or the internet. It can feel like a total mystery. But you know what? It's not a mystery at all. Not if you've got the right tools. And today, we're going to learn the core methods that every single historian uses to piece together the past. So get ready. Class is officially in session. Okay, so where do we even begin? Well, the very first step is all about finding clues. See, history isn't just sitting there in a textbook. It's scattered all around us, just waiting for someone to find it. Honestly, the best way to think about it is this. A historian is a detective for time, but instead of looking for fingerprints, they're looking for clues about what happened. And in the world of history, these clues have a special name. They're called sources. So what is a source, really? Well, it's pretty much anything, and I mean anything that has survived from the past and can give us a tiny piece of the puzzle. It could be an old coin, a story your grandmother tells you, a building, or a diary. But here's a key detail. Not all clues are created equal. Historians divide them into two main types. You've got primary sources, that's the direct eyewitness stuff. Think of a letter actually written in 1920. Then you have secondary sources. These are created later by someone looking back. Think of a textbook about the 1920s. One is the raw evidence, the other is the story told about that evidence. And these sources, they're everywhere. They come in all shapes and sizes. Oral traditions are the living stories passed down from one generation to the next. Written sources are what we usually think of. Old newspapers, diaries, government papers. And then there are archaeological sources, the actual physical things people left behind, like the amazing Nok terracotta sculptures found in Nigeria. I mean, these give us a direct look into a culture from over 2,000 years ago, without a single word being written down. It's incredible, right? So we've gathered our clues, awesome. But a big pile of clues isn't a story, is it? To make any sense of it, you need to know the most critical thing of all. When did it happen? This is called chronology, and it's the absolute backbone of history. Just think about it for a second. Finding an old Roman coin is pretty cool, but finding out that coin was made in the year 50 BC? Whoa, that changes everything. Suddenly, it tells you about trade and politics and who was in power at that very specific moment in time. The when is what gives a clue its real meaning. And that leads us to the real challenge. How do you take a story someone tells you, a document from a dusty archive, and a sculpture you dig out of the ground, and put them all in the right order? We need a system, a universal calendar that works for all of human history. Well, lucky for us, we have a system, and we're going to break it down right now. It's the system historians use every single day. And I promise, once you see it, it's going to make perfect sense. First up, we have BC. It stands for before Christ, and it covers all of history leading up to year 1. Now, the one thing you really got to remember here is that the years count backwards. It's like a countdown. So 500 BC happened a long time before 10 BC. The numbers get smaller as they get closer to year 1. Then bam, we hit year 1 and everything flips over to AD. This is Latin for Anno Domini, which means in the year of the Lord. From this point on, things are easy. The numbers count forward normally, just like we're used to, 1066, 1492, all the way up to today. So look at this timeline here. You can see exactly how it works. Year 1 is like the center point of history's great timeline. Everything to the left is BC, with the years counting down to the middle. Everything to the right is AD, with the years counting up to where we are right now. It's this one single continuous line that lets us map everything out. So this huge timeline is great, but sometimes historians need to talk about time in bigger chunks. Talking about individual years can get a little messy. That's why they love using a concept you've definitely heard of, the century. It's just a nice, clean 100-year block of time. Now, here's a fun fact. Figuring out which century a year is in can actually trip people up. But there's a super simple trick for it. Take any year, let's say 1776. First, just cover up the last two numbers. You're left with 17, right? Then just add 1. 17 plus 1 is 18. And there you go, 1776 is in the 18th century. It works every time. Okay, you ready? Time for a quick pop quiz. Don't worry, it's an easy one. Let's say you are looking at something from the year 1845. Using that little trick we just learned, what century is it in? Take a second, think about it. Yes, it's the 19th century. You've got it. See, you ignore the 45, you're left with 18, add 1, and you get 19. Simple as that. You've officially mastered it. And just like that, you have the fundamental tools of a historian. Seriously, you know how to find the clues, and this is the important part, you know how to place them correctly in time. So let's put it all together. So let's do a quick recap. We learned that history is all about studying evidence, called sources. We know how to tell the difference between a primary source from an eyewitness and a secondary source, which is secondhand. And most importantly, we learned about the timeline, BC and AD, and how to calculate the century for any year, putting all those clues in the right order. Of course, every good class has to end with a little something to take with you, a little take-home assignment, if you will. So here's your challenge. The next time you see an old family photo, let's say it's from 1959, ask yourself 2 questions. First, is this a primary or a secondary source? And second, what century does it belong to? Because you have the skills now, you have the tools to look at your own world just like a real historian.